What's up? Welcome to the Not Pickleball podcast. I'm here with your boy, the Pickleball Studio, Mr. Chris Olsen.
The one and only.
Thanks for having me in. So, hey man, I want to talk about pickleball. Obviously, I flew all the way up here from Tulsa, Oklahoma, just so we could have this conversation.
That's right. Couldn't have done it over the phone.
No, so I really want to know though, like, I mean, obviously you and I have been conversing over like social media and stuff, and obviously we're both, pickleball, like YouTube, like content creators. He's much better than I am. So I came here actually to learn, from the master, because when it comes to making pickleball content, his name might as well be Ben Johns.
I'll take it. Maybe that's when people confuse me for Ben Johns. They're actually just trying to tell me you're the Ben Johns of content creation. Maybe that's what they mean.
Did that actually happen?
Oh, yeah, tons.
No way.
Yeah, it happened here first. I was at a local tournament, and the dude was like, has anyone ever told you look a lot like Ben Johns? And I was like, no one's ever told me that. Then I went to Kansas, and 2 people there thought I was Ben Johns. And I was like, no, I'm not Ben Johns. Like, one person had actually called their friend and said, Ben Johns is here. You should come over here. And then, I was like, I'm not Ben Johns. So that was really awkward. But then when I went to the APP in Mesa last year in December, several people came up to me asking for my autograph thinking I was Ben. And at some point I had to start clarifying. People would be like, can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, this is before I was big on YouTube. So I was like, no one should know who I am. And then I'd be like, who do you think I am? And they'd be like, Ben Johns. And I'd be like, I'm not Ben Johns. One guy came up to me, actually, he was watching a game of Zane play. And he was like, have you played him yet? And I was like, huh? And I didn't get it at the time. And I was like, no, I haven't played him yet today. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like really confused by the interaction. And then 20 minutes later, I was like, he thinks I'm Ben, and I was supposed to play Zane in singles. So yeah, it's a mess. Yeah.
Man, I would have just played on that so hard. I'm like,
oh, people told me I should have.
yeah, no, you should have.
I'm just not enough of a troll to do it.
I was curious, how long have you been playing pickleball, and how did you get into it?
I'm at a year and 2 months now, I think. And it's funny how I started, actually. I don't remember. I think my friend just texted me. We were looking for something to do, and he was like, dude, I've been playing this thing called pickleball. He's like, you want to try it? And I was like, I have no idea what pickleball is. I think he might have even explained it. He's like, it's kind of like tennis. So I was like, oh, I'm in. I was like, I used to play tennis, and I had quit 2 years prior. So I was like, I'd like to play a racket sport. So we get there. I see the size of the court. I see we're using a paddle, and it's like a wiffle ball. And I'm like, I am absolutely going to smoke him because he has no racket sport background. And I played tennis all of growing up. So I was like, this is going to be so easy. He explains the rules to me. We played singles. It wasn't doubles, which isn't how most people start. Yeah. So we play singles, and I just get dunked on. It's
no way.
111, 211. The best I did was maybe 411, and I was so frustrated. And it's funny because this origin story is quite similar to my one for speed cubing. And we'll skip a bunch of stuff. But basically, my uncle would solve it at parties. And I've always been competitive. And so I was like, if you can do it, I should be able to do it. And so then I learned it. And when I learned how fast he used to be able to do it, I was like, I'm going to do it till I'm faster than you. And it was the same thing with pickleball. I was like, I'm going to play this until I'm better than you. So I got into it because I really wanted to beat him. And it bothered me that someone with no racket sport background was beating me on this tiny court. I was like, this is small tennis. It should be easy.
So I was curious then, so he beat you. So what did he do? What did you feel like when you hit it? Was it easier tennis for you? Even though I guess you lost to him. I mean, I would be pissed off.
Yeah, I don't really remember if how I felt while I was playing. Because some people when they come, they're like, oh, I can't do topspin. Mm-hmm. I don't really remember having any thought I can't hit my spin shots because obviously in tennis use tons of it, and I don't have any memory of that. I really can't remember how the first one went except that I got my butt handed to me. Because people coming in, they're always they're holding semi-Western for everything, and I feel like I picked up pretty quickly if I'm at the net, I should probably be in Continental. I didn't really go through that phase where someone was like, hey, tennis player, stop being an idiot. Obviously I had tendencies to get rid of, but I didn't have to go through much of that.
You came from tennis. I also came from tennis. I think I played tennis for probably 15, almost 18 years, maybe a little bit more than that. And I picked it up during the pandemic. I think the rest of, America did. It was my uncle. He and I play a lot of tennis, and they locked up all the tennis courts around my neighborhoods in DC, everywhere. We couldn't get in, and I was sick and tired of jumping those big ass fences. Like,
Were you actually jumping them to go in and play?
there was a few of them that like, you know, some of them that were like chained up or whatever with a heavy chain, like you couldn't, but some of them like they just locked in, the codes just didn't work. But I know like you could like unlock it from the inside, so they must have changed the code or something.
So,
like
but like
that.
you never got caught?
No, I mean, so there's one time me and my uncle went into there was one court like in my neighborhood that wasn't locked up yet, but then I don't know, like the neighborhood watch or something, like one person came and then I saw him on his phone. I thought maybe he wanted to come play. He was inviting people to come play, but then like a group of people came through and they were like looking at us, and I felt like they wanted to say something to us because we were playing tennis during lockdown. And before you know it, like the next day it was locked up, and I was like, that fucker, he like
He got you in trouble.
yeah, he like called up the whole entire like neighborhood squad and was like, you know, he probably thought we were, you know, being irresponsible, but I was like, yo, he's my uncle, we're family, like, you know, he's my immediate family unit.
Yep.
You know. And then yeah, we couldn't play anymore. And then he called me over and invited some of my cousins. Like, hey, Will, I got this pickleball thing going on our in my garage, or not in his garage, but on his driveway. He lives on a pretty large driveway, and I was like, I don't know what that is. Actually, I lied. I think I've seen it like once before. I may have like played it, but like I forgot about it, and I was like, I don't know what that is, or maybe I just didn't know what the name was. And then I went to his place, and then we played, and I was like, oh yeah, I think I've seen this before. And of course, like none of us knew the rules.
Yeah.
You know, I was serving and volleying. I was like, oh, this is easy, man. I'm just gonna serve this. I need to rush the net. They can't do passing shots. It's like, and then the thing was is that because he taped the lines, and I don't think he taped them like the right. I'm pretty sure his kitchen was like 6 feet from the net.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I was just like,
yep.
what?
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned this now because I do remember I had to like, I don't think my friend knew the rules all the way, especially for singles. He didn't, because I was like, if you miss your serve, do you get a second serve? And he was like, I don't know, so we'll just do it anyways.
Okay.
So like we totally had like second serves like it was tennis and everything. Gotcha. So I think we did know about like the kitchen and stuff. That we knew about that, but I think there was a couple weird quirks about like which side you should be standing on and how you serve and all that.
Dude, no, it was figuring out the freaking scoring. That was the hardest thing. Still the hardest thing. I still struggle with that. If you're new, and
I can confirm, I played with him, and he's always asking us for the score.
I don't know the score. I'm the worst. I only kind of like know when it's tournament time, and then I don't know. But in rec play, I don't know. And one time I was going to my driving to my photography studio. I was taking this one route that I never like took before because they had some road closures. I knew they were doing some construction, so I took this way, and then I drove past this like government like building, but next to it was a bunch of pickleball courts. Man, I didn't know it was pickleball courts at the time. There was like 10, like maybe potentially even 12 of them, but it was all in a straight line. But like I looked and I was like, there's a lot of people on these tennis courts, and I was like, I've never seen tennis courts like this full. And then I was like, what? And then I drove by and I got close and I was like, oh crap, there's pickleball, what the hell? And like I've never seen like dedicated courts before.
Yeah.
And I just walked him, I was like, hey, is this like a league, a group thing? He's like, oh no, we're just rec play. And I was just like, what? This is insane. And somebody was like, hey, you want to like join in? We need an extra person on this court. And I was like, yeah, I play with my uncle. Like, yeah, this should be easy. And I remember, I forgot who it was, but it was this old guy. I think his name was like Sam or something. He whooped my ass. And I was like, what had happened? This shouldn't be happening. And then after that, it was like, the rest was history, I guess. Like, I just really wanted to like come back. I really wanted to find Sam and like, yeah. I never saw him again.
Oh, sure, yes. Sure.
Sam, if you're out there, you're watching this, I'm coming for your ass. Wherever you are.
It would be hilarious. Maybe that'll be the theme. You know how there's always like a theme or inside joke on the podcast? It'll be searching for Sam.
Searching for Sam.
And someone's going to know him.
I don't even know if his name was Sam, honestly, because I met so many people.
Well, now this is going to be even more difficult.
Oh, gosh. Stupid.
I mean, I was hooked literally immediately. Like, from the first day, I was like, this is super fun. Then I would, like, pester my friend, like, when are we going to go play again? Mm-hmm. And then after, like, the second time, I was like, I just got to go buy my own paddles. So then I bought 2 for me and my wife, and I had to get her into it. Yep. She thought it was great, and she didn't even have a racket sport background. Then I was like, I got to tell my brothers about this because they're going to love this. And I tell my brothers, and they're like, that sounds like the dumbest sport ever. They're like, you should just play tennis. And, like, my brothers are all younger than me or whatever. So it's like, they thought it was dumb. And then I take my middle brother to the court, Patrick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we go hit. Literally within, like, 5 hits or
This
something.
is
He's
the
like,
greatest thing ever.
no, literally, that's what he said. He's like, this is the greatest thing ever. This is so much fun. So then he goes and buys his own paddle. Like, everyone got hooked, like, right away. So me and my siblings basically, Isaac might have started a little later, but, like, basically all at the same time, and everyone loved it.
Dang, well, you're lucky. My, I guess, road was not that easy. My younger brother would, he does like it, but he's out in Chicago, and then I'm trying to get my friends, because at the time I was still, like, playing a lot of tennis, and then they started opening up some of the courts back up, and then I did get my own paddle. I got like a makeshift net, had some wooden paddles, like you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then I take some of my tennis buddies to go play, and they liked it, but they struggled.
Yeah.
They struggled. I don't think I struggled as much because they all have like Western grips.
Yeah.
And for you guys who don't know, a Western grip, and like tennis grips are honestly so confusing. I might
They
have
are
to,
really terrible.
I might have to make a video on that. But even I confuse myself.
Well, but here's the thing. I understand all the grips.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly where my hand should be for each grip and what I call it. But the problem is everyone has different definitions of the position and what it is. Like, I'll be like, this is continental. And they're like, no, it's a little bit further over. And I'm like, no, it's not. And then I'll find, like, an article to support. And they're like, no, like, I was always taught it's this. And then, like, maybe another article, like, contradicts it. And it's like, it's a mess. I've even thought about making a video. And I'm like, it's just, it's bad. And it's hard to visually show on a camera. Like, you can do it, but it's not easy.
It's not easy. We should definitely make a video. While
Yeah,
I'm
we
still
totally
here.
should. Yeah.
Western grip. Basically, a Western grip, like to me, is like, if I describe it, it's like holding a frying pan, like, you know, or like a wok, like you whipping up some stir fry in the wok, making fried rice or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, they could not put enough topspin to get it over because the ball would just dump into the net. Now for me, it was easy because when I was taught tennis, like my uncle who taught me, like he grew up in like, you know, like the era of American tennis, like in the 80s, you know, like Borg, McEnroe, like Chang, like Sampras, Agassi, or whatever. So they taught me on like almost like a wooden racket, and they taught me continental grip.
Sure.
And then even in tennis, I would say like an Eastern grip, like an extreme Eastern grip. So like pickleball was super easy transition for me. And I just remember like my friends tried it. They're like, oh yeah, don't know if it's for me. And then I have other like different circles of tennis, but I was still playing UST. They're like, hey, Will, we haven't seen you. Are you coming to play practice with us? And I'm like, nah, I'm playing pickleball. And they're like, what? And some of them know. Most of them know what it is. But, you know, obviously at the time, I think even still now, like
Yeah.
tennis players or tennis leaders, some people are like, ew.
Oh, yeah. No, they definitely are. The majority are, for sure.
Yeah, but I tell them, I'm like, yo, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't come at me. I will still beat your ass in tennis if I come on the court. Don't come after me. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to see that. You don't want to see a pickleball player beats a tennis player.
Yeah.
You know, that's the worst.
They always think it should be the other way around.
You know, I'm jealous, man. I wish I had like close, like, I don't know, people around me to like really play.
Oh, it helped a lot because when I started, like, I don't know how long it took until I warmed up to like the idea of going to like a rec play or something. But I like exclusively just played with people I knew for the first 2, maybe 3 months, maybe around the 3-month mark, I started branching out a little bit. But yeah, it was like mostly just people I knew that I played with. And like I had probably tried playing with other people, and it was always older people. And I would tell my brother, like, okay, like, be nice, like, don't hit it too hard or whatever, thinking like, oh, this is going to be easy. And just like everyone else always experiences, you get your butt handed to you and you feel really stupid. Yes. Like, there were these 2 older ladies. This is after we had actually got back from a tournament. Mm-hmm. And I said that, I was like, be nice. Like, I'm sure we can beat them pretty easily. No, we got stomped. I was like, not only did we lose the tournament pretty quickly, but then we come back, we'd driven 4 hours back home, and then wanted to play some more pickleball, and then got stomped there. So it was like a nice butt whooping 2 times in one day.
Well, so I'm curious now, like, so you've been playing for about a year. Like, what level would you say you play at right now? Or maybe where did you start and, like, where are you at now?
So when I started, I definitely thought I was a 3.5. When I go back and look at the footage, I'm like, you were a 3.0, like, all day long. Like, 100%. Like, it didn't take long to get into 3.5, like, solidly, I don't think. But, like, when I look at the very first month of playing videos like that, I'm, like, barely running. Like, I'm in, you know, like, sneakers or whatever, and, like, backs all hunched. Is bad. I, like, hardly even looked like I played tennis. It's kind of embarrassing to look at. Now I play 4.0, and it probably wasn't until, like, December of last year, like, when I hit that. So yeah, somewhere around there. How about you?
Let's see. So when I came in, I was a 4-0, really strong 4-0 tennis player, or like a weak like 4-5 tennis player. I mean, like on the USA teams that I played with, we went to, sectionals and regionals a few times. I never made it to nationals, and I'm really upset because the year that I stopped playing, like my team made it to nationals. I was like, fuck. It was me. It was me.
Yeah, they did it.
They didn't need me. Yeah. I was the worst player on the team. All right, but anyways, I came in. I was like, okay, I definitely think I'm a 4-0, and I thought I was a strong 4-0 in pickleball until like I got stomped. And I'm like, okay, like I have the skills of a 4-0, but like I don't think I had like the strategy and the mental and some of the other shots of a 4-0. And I would say now, I would say I'm a 4-5. I mean, I definitely am singles 4-5. I mean, I won like some big tournaments, 4-5 singles. I have not done so hot in doubles, and part of it is like finding a consistent partner.
Yeah, totally.
Coincidentally, my best doubles performance was like 4-0, second place, 19 plus in the Texas Open of last year, 2021. And I actually played against your fellow...
The one and only, Sammy Lee.
Sammy Lee, I still owe you, Sammy Lee. I got to get you back. We got to play before I head back.
You better.
No, he's going to whip my ass.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He's so good.
If you don't play him now, he's going to be on the pro circuit before you know it. He's going to be like, I can't play with you anymore.
He's so good.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, no, my doubles game needs help. Honestly, like, I think it's hard for, like, new players, especially if you don't come from tennis, like, to know, like, what level you're playing at. And then because pickleball is, so easy, I would say it's like, because the skill ceiling, the skill floor is very low. I feel like the skill ceiling is pretty high, maybe not as high as some of the other paddle sports, which is probably the reason why like a lot of tennis elitists and some other, people play padel or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like hate on it who haven't tried it yet.
Well, and I think we're still finding the ceiling, right? Like you have people like Ben Johns that are obviously the top, but like I bet even 3 years time, maybe even, probably we'll say 3 years to be safe, but like 3 years time, you're going to look back at some of this right now and be like, like we really were not where we thought we were, right? Like, I look back at stuff from like 2018, 17, and if you go even back further, like 5-0, like gold medal matches barely look like a 4-0 medal match now is what it feels like to me. The game looked like literally all just dink. The attacks looked super weak and uncoordinated. Like, yeah, I think the skill ceiling is like way far yet to be found.
Yeah, and a lot of talent is also coming in, and I bet you more people from like high-level tennis, high-level table tennis, even like squash, like padel. I also even think like badminton is going to come in, and like we're going to see like just a flood of talent come in. And so I think it's like important to see like what the levels actually mean. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think the levels mean? From like, let's say, I feel like 3-5 to 4-0 is pretty apparent, but I feel like 4-0 to 4-5 is pretty difficult to discern, and from 4-5 to 5-0 is pretty difficult to discern.
Yeah.
And I don't have the list here. I don't even know what the guidelines say on whatever.
Yeah, but the guidelines from the governing body are an absolute joke. Like it probably says I'm like a 4-5 at this point. Like it said I was a 4-0 like long before I was a 4-0, and I knew I wasn't a 4-0. So like I wouldn't even call it a good guideline. It needs to be rewritten. It's really bad.
Okay, so then what would you say, or what are the discerning differences for you? Or like when you go to somebody new and somebody asks you, hey, what level do you think I am?
Yeah.
What do you tell them? Because I get that question a lot, and some people say like, Will, you're definitely 4-5. At least when I first started. I think now I can confidently say I'm 4-5. It's tough because I hear like mixed things, and I'm always like, what is the best kind of like fundamental foundation to differentiate between the levels?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't necessarily have a list of skills, but like, okay, so like 3-0, player is very inconsistent, cannot keep the ball in play for very long. They're like overhitting the ball all the time. They're like trying to like drive dinks. Like you can just tell kind of by looking at them like, okay, consistency's not there. You don't like dinking, and a lot of the fundamentals aren't in place. Then when you get to like 3-5, fundamentals are getting more in place. They're willing to dink, but they probably don't like it. Like they are able and capable to hit a dink, probably not for very long, but they know how to do it. But otherwise, they're going to bang the ball around. They don't have a backhand, really. Like, they're going to dance around their backhand as much as possible. And then I think a lot of times they're missing a handful of shots. Like I've seen a lot of 3-5s that like don't know how to slice. They don't really know how to topspin. Like spin is not really a part of their game. So I feel like there's that. And overall, just still like the 3-0, they're like lacking consistency. Like they've improved a little bit, but like if you wanted easy points, probably going to hit to their backhand. Their serve probably doesn't have a lot of power. Their placement and general court awareness is not there. Like shot selection's bad. Like they might choose to speed up like a red light ball instead of, like green light or something like that. Once you get 4-0, 4-0 is I feel like I can pretty confidently say like, oh, also 3-5s don't like to drop the ball. They like to drive it.
I don't know. Some 4-0s don't even like to drop the ball, and they can't deke either. I'm like,
that's
right
true.
now. That was me as a 4-0.
Yeah, that's true, and I think you can get away with it. Like when a good tennis player comes in, I think they can be a 4-0 and get away with driving the ball just because they're really good at driving from tennis, and a lot of pickleball players don't like to have the ball hit at them hard. So like, they can deal with it. Like I'm a 4-0 and I can deal with people driving the ball at me, but like I think you get to some levels of 4-0 and they're like really uncomfortable. So you can kind of win people if your drive is consistent. But 4-0 to me is like you hit a third shot drop the majority of the time. Okay. Like your consistency is pretty good. Like maybe 70, 80% you can hit your drop and then you drive occasionally. You can sustain a dink rally for, probably like 5+ shots or something. Shot selection gets a lot better. There's a lot less unforced errors. Unforced errors still exist quite a bit. And I think that's kind of where like the differentiating between like 4-0 and 4-5 happens in my mind is like you have a lot of the same skill sets as the 4-0, but like your consistency just goes up.
Gotcha. Your execution of those skills are...
Yeah, they're just higher. Like I think you can probably add in things for the 4-5, like maybe they get some better deception shots and they're thinking a little bit more strategy than the 4-0 probably. But otherwise, that's like the main differentiating for 4-0 and 4-5 to me is like the consistency. Okay. Like you can dink, you can drop, you can do all the things, but like maybe you're still missing like, they give you like a meatball or whatever, that's what we call it here. And you just kind of whiff it. Yeah, Pat, my brother, all the time is like, dude, they gave you a meatball and you dumped it in the net.
Where's the spaghetti at?
Yeah, where's the spaghetti? Yeah.
Oh, God.
So that's it for me, for the most part. How about you?
Okay. Well, wait, before what about 4-5 to 5-0? Do you know? Do you know enough?
That gets tricky. I don't know. Like, it would really just be a cop-out answer to say, like, even more consistency. But I think consistency is another step above. They're way more patient and picky about things. Like I think even at 4-5, you have people like speeding up balls that like might not be something they should speed up. The 5-0 is like really willing to sit there and like dink all day and they can do it just fine. Like essentially they can just dink all day until someone makes some kind of bad mistake. And I think you're really thinking about strategy at that point, like shot selection. How can I pull this person out wide? And you're much better at breaking down and analyzing other teams. Like that's a big thing we've talked about for me is like I'm not good at analyzing other teams and like figuring out what to beat unless it's glaringly obvious. Like clearly this person can't hit a backhand. Right. It just slips out my head. Like there's too many things floating around. And I think a 5-0 can probably discern that pretty well.
I think that's the tough thing about pickleball because it is so easy that these things are not obvious. Yeah. These skill sets are not obvious. So I was thinking about it last night and I was breaking it down without kind of going into the skill set because, like the individual, like small details of skills, like, being able to do certain dinks or drops or whatnot, right? Without going to it in a broad sense, I wrote it down, at least from the 4-0 to the 5-0. So like I say a 4-0, whoever makes the most mistakes loses at the 4-0 level. Yep. Okay. In the 4-5, who can capitalize on the mistakes the most wins. Okay. And at the 5-0 level and above, it's who can create the opportunities.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I think at that level, because no one's really making mistakes, I think you're creating opportunities. You're looking for opportunities. What those opportunities are, I don't know. If you guys know, let me know because I'm trying to get there. Chris is trying to get there. We're all trying to get there, but it's tough and it's not obvious until like you play them. And even when you play them, it's still not obvious because, when I play, so I played some like 5-0s. I have some pro level like players like in my town of Tulsa, like Grant Bond, Alvaro, Tyrone, and like they just make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like they're speeding it up at like spots on my body, you know, and like chicken wing when I feel like I can't get chicken winged.
Yep.
They are just like keeping me back when I don't. They're dropping me in, and then they're creating opportunities, and those small little opportunities I feel like compound, and then finally when they feel like it's compound enough, and then they let loose, and then I get smoked.
I have to love real quick how what took me probably at least 5 minutes to say from 3-0 to 5-0, you managed to sum up way more eloquently in like 20 seconds. You're like, here's 4-0 and their problem, here's what 4-5 does better, and here's what 5-0 does better. And I'm over here like, well, I think like 70% chance the 4-0 is like hitting third shot drop. Like, that was so much better. So this is what I mean. We're like, we've talked about this quite a bit. Is like, you're just good at breaking things down. Yeah. And I'm like, I have to think really hard about it. And I feel like this was the perfect example of me thinking really hard and you going, it's just this.
All right, well, you say that, but like, I literally spent hours like thinking about that, like the previous night. Like, this is the stuff that I think about.
But I probably still would have thought about it for a long time and still said a bunch of like, I would have came to the same conclusion with more words, whereas you did it with less words.
Okay. So I might as well just say that. I know we talked about this before. I'm going to make a video about this. But the next step, like from that, because like obviously you're trying to improve, I'm trying to improve, and I created a framework to improve, and that was like the 4 hierarchies. And this is like the 4 hierarchies of pickleball. And I would say any paddle sport for that matter. I think it applies to all of them. It could potentially apply to like almost all sports. And the 4 hierarchies are positioning, and then goes receiving, then shot selection, and then execution, right? So like the top of the hierarchy is the most important, then it goes, you know, progressively less important, but they're all still important. And so I take the example, like if you had the best forehand in the world, like the best drive from the middle of the court, from the baseline, right? And, you know, it's smoked 120 miles per hour, like world class. You're like, oh my gosh, like flames flying, you know, when it hits the ground. But if you're not in the position on the court, like if you're on the other side of the court, you're not there to take it, then like that shot's useless. And then if you then do make it and you're in the position to do it, you have to be able to receive the ball. And when you receive the ball, receiving the ball is you being able to like comprehend the pace that is coming at and the spin that's being put on it. And then a little bit of the micro adjustments, you know, to be able to read, because if you can't receive it, then you can't hit your shot. And of course, like if you get into position, but your back's face towards the ball, like obviously you can't receive the ball. So it's useless, right? And then shot selection, right? So if that ball gets dropped to you in the kitchen, like you can't drive it, right? Yeah. It's gonna go straight into the net. So it's useless, right? And then of course, execution. If you can't consistently execute it, then it's useless. So like when you are trying to improve or you're making mistakes, right? You should be looking at those 4 things and you should be like, okay, what and where was the mistake? Was I out of position? Could I not receive the ball? Was it my execution? Because I feel like a lot of players like practice execution. They think it's all execution, but it's not. And if you're in the right position, you're ready to receive the ball and like you chose the right shot, executing the shot can be and should be very easy. That's why you drill them.
Yeah.
Right? And each of those hierarchies like compound, and then your shot execution, right? Your shot selection and then the execution you decide to do dictates the positioning of your opponents, and then their hierarchies next. And I feel like the really good players, right? I mean, I guess like good players have mastery over like the 4, and then the best of the best have the ability to manipulate the other opponents or other players' hierarchy,
yeah.
You know, and then of course like the pros, like they have something extra on top. They have the 2 additional like hierarchies. They have like physical and like mental. So whether that's like strategy and experience that perceives to, you know, their mental state, or some physical trait that they have. I mean, like, you know, we can practice as much as we want, but we're not going to have the reach of like Deckle bar.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
No, he can literally like Ernie from the center line.
Right.
He'll like hit it and like, and I'm like, I don't even.
Yeah. Speaking of which, of the pros, like, so do you follow the pros a lot? Do you watch a lot of tournaments? I'm curious.
I get torn. Like, I will generally turn something on when there's a tournament, like this weekend when they had the APP in St. Louis and the PPA in North Carolina. I would turn it on occasionally when I had like some downtime to do it, but generally the matches, unless it's like a gold medal match, and even then, like, they don't hold my attention that well. And I think there's a number of reasons. One, you see a lot of the same matchups every weekend. So you kind of like know what to expect. Like if I see like Ben Johns and Annalee Waters playing like Jesse Irvin and like Jay, like I already know where that match is going. Like literally the other weekend, like a couple weeks ago, one of my friends was like, hey, I want you to like guess who's going to win in every event this weekend. And we knew who were in the finals. And Annalee and Ben Johns were in every single event. And I said them for every single event that they're doing. And they won every single event they did. I think it was the one where they both triple crowned. So
That's
it's
crazy
like,
that they both triple crowned.
yeah, it's insane. So it's like, that makes it like a little less entertaining because there's not much shakeups. And then I think there's always like little small technical problems on the streams, and like sometimes the commentators do a good job, sometimes they don't. So like I watch it, but like I'm probably mostly going to catch the highlights later.
Right, exactly. Same here. I've started watching less and less, although I do enjoy the Major League Pickleball just because
It's funny, that's the one I've enjoyed the least so far.
Really? I
Yeah.
really like the format.
Because it literally just feels like I'm watching pros play rec play.
Oh.
Like, I'm
Maybe
going to
because
keep
there are
watching
stakes.
them and see what happens, but like, it just doesn't feel like they're trying very hard. Like, and I like what Duper's doing. The concept and everything behind Major League Pickleball and Duper doing stuff together is really cool. Like, in theory, if Duper works well, like they should, you know, they have been predicting the scores like extremely accurately, I believe. But I don't know. I just kind of like the first one, actually, a great one was the Battle of the Sexes, which was like the first event they did this year, I think. And it just felt like the guys weren't really trying. And I was like, I can't prove that they weren't, but like there was just a lot of things where they're like joking and like laughing, and I'm like, no, I want to like pretend there's like $100,000 on the line.
I see.
Like you're not going to be laughing when there's $100,000 on the line. And so after that one, and there's been a couple that like really just weren't broadcasted well, so then that kind of threw me off. But
Gotcha.
I hope it gets better. The concept is good.
The concept is good. Okay, I like the concept as well. Maybe it's just that I enjoy, rec play for the most part. I think that's what's drawing me to pickleball. But I do like the competitive aspect of it. But I just liked it for just the matchups, just seeing different people on the screen for the most part, And then, but you're right, like watching some of the pro plays in some of these tournaments, you see the same people, and there's not enough maybe tension, or there's not enough I don't know, storylines, dramas. Although I did hear about the last thing with was it Ryan
Sherry and Julian Arnold.
Okay, so it explains to me what happened there, because I saw you guys were talking about it a lot in the chat in the Discord, and I was just like, yo, what's going on? Because I don't really watch the pros like that, at least not as much, and I just try to watch like some highlights, and I watch some of the names. So yeah, tell me what happened.
So I don't know Ryan Sherry that well. I've seen him. I think he played in the Battle of the Sexes Duper. Or like I've seen him somewhere, but I don't know that much about him. Julian Arnold's like obviously an up and coming pro. Like he hit the scene pretty quick. Like in the last like 2-3 months, he's like really came on. But anyways, it was the PPA North Carolina. They're playing in the finals. It's best of 5 or whatever.
Oh wait, that was the finals? Julian Arnold versus Ryan Sherry
that
in
was
the finals?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I was kind of shocked too. I was like, Julian Arnold doesn't surprise me too much because like he's a good singles player. But I was like, Ryan Sherry's older. I think he's in his 40s.
Yeah.
I think. So I was like shocked to see that that's the final.
Okay, well, I will say I knew about Ryan Sherry. I saw him for the first time in person at the PPA Grand Slam in Arizona. That was earlier this year. And he was playing lights out. I saw him play against Jay DeVilliers, and I was like literally like 7 feet away from the court. And he was smoking Jay, like just like ripping.
In singles or doubles?
Singles.
Okay. That's shocking because Jay's obviously insane.
Yeah, no, Jay is insane with his reach, and he's super athletic. But Ryan Sherry is like literally like ripping forehands and backhands like down the line, cross court, and it just, I don't know. When you watch it, it does. Obviously, when you watch it like on video, like it doesn't seem that impressive. And even me, when I watch
it makes a big difference. I think in person versus online. Like
yes.
The first pro tournament I went to, I was like, this is immensely more impressive than it is on the stream.
Yes, no, for sure. And but it's funny. It's the same thing, like with tennis as well. Like when I watch,
Totally.
even on video on tennis online, I still think it's impressive. But then when you go to in person, when they're serving like 120 miles an hour
Yeah.
plus, it is downright scary.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, back to Ryan Scher. Yeah, no, he was ripping stuff against Jay, and I was just like, what? And of course, like I've played against Jay before, so I know what he's capable of, and like, yeah, it's. Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie. It's surprising that they both made that. I didn't see one of the other names. Like, who else was in the draw?
I don't even know who else was in the draw. I know Ben Johns wasn't there. So, well, Tyson was there. He didn't make it. He got knocked out early. Tyler,
Lung.
yeah, he would have been there. I don't know. I don't think Jay was there. I didn't hear about anything of him in doubles. But I know there was a couple of other like talented singles player there. So like that's definitely not the finals I would have predicted by any means. Like I for sure would have predicted Tyson in the final without a doubt.
I see. All right, so tell me what happened. What happened?
Yeah, so they get into the game. I believe Julian takes the first one, and then Ryan takes the next two, and then Julian gets the next one. But
so
like
it's best out of 5.
Yeah, best out of 5. So like Julian like beats Ryan like convincingly in the first one. Like it was like it looks like it's gonna be a total blowout.
What was it like 11?
Like 11-5, 11-4. But like the whole time you could just tell like Julian was in control of everything. Like Ryan was making a lot of unforced errors. Like it just wasn't good. So anyways, he starts playing better. But then as it gets further and further, Ryan starts getting really tired. You can tell like he doesn't have the same athleticism as Julian.
Yeah, Julian's a machine.
Yeah, he is an absolute machine.
And he still plays like I think tennis like 3 times a week or something too.
Does he really?
Yeah, he plays like tennis. It's part of his like condition and training.
Oh, well, that's
regimen.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder he plays singles like a ton. Like, not in a bad way, but like, man is running like a maniac on the court. Whereas, like, if you look at someone like Ben, like, it's like I get up to the net and I'm at the net pretty much the whole time, where Julian's like literally zipping to every corner of the court. It's like insane.
Yeah.
But it's like, as it goes on, Ryan's getting tired and you can tell, and he's like using his timeouts. And then he starts like, what we were talking about online is like, how the sportsmanship was, and there's like 2 trains of thought, but like he starts like doing big circles when he's going back to the baseline to like draw out the clock so that he gets more time to catch his breath. And then like a few times he would like walk up to the net, get the ball, start walking back, and then like he would just roll the ball back to the net so that Julian has to go up there, get it, and then walk back. And like you can tell Julian's wanting to play quick.
Yeah.
Because like, one, that's his play style, and he can tell he's getting tired. It's like after a couple times, it's like Julian's getting annoyed. Like you can tell. Like I feel like he even said something a couple times, and there was actually one point where ball goes past Ryan, he loses the point. A spectator's like, the ball goes to a spectator, and he's like getting ready to throw it like to Julian or something, and Ryan goes, no, like I'll come get that ball. So like he walked over, took his time, got the ball, and then gave it back or whatever. So like he was just doing a lot of small things to draw out the clock, and I actually picked up on this while he was playing, but he got foot faulted like 4 times in singles, which is crazy. That never happens. And every time he got called on a foot fault, he was out of timeouts, and he would argue with the ref. Ooh. And I was like, I think he knows the ref is right.
Yes.
But he's arguing so he gets more time. And in his post-game interview, he said, yeah, like I knew they were right, but like I was just arguing to get myself more time before I had to go back.
Oh, okay. So, all right. And was he foot faulting on his serve or on?
He foot faulted on his serve, and then I think the other like 2 or 3 calls were at the kitchen.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, why would you foot fault just to like lose?
Well, I don't think he foot faulted on purpose. Okay. But then when it happened, he was like, I can use this to my advantage.
I see. So it's really not necessarily unsportsmanlike, although it's not necessarily sports. It's more like gamemanship.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like it is perfectly within the bounds to do all of these things, like taking your time to get back to the service box. Like you could roll the ball to the net so the other person has to go get it, but like most people in pickleball don't do it. And like coming from speed cubing, where like sportsmanship was like a really, really big deal.
Yeah,
like huge deal, and everyone was very good at self-regulating their sportsmanship. Yeah. Whenever I come to like a regular sport, I'm always like, oh yeah, like people do things that are like on the edge of the rules, where it's like, this is legal, you can do this, but like most people don't do this.
Okay.
So it sits weird with me, but like I don't really think like less of him, but I'm like, man, I wouldn't want to do that.
It definitely didn't make you a fan of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, yeah, it definitely didn't like make me a fan, but I'm not like, oh yeah, like I hope he loses and gets his butt kicked or anything. It's just kind of like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to think how I feel about it. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. Do I like it? Not necessarily. Do I kind of respect him for it? Yeah, I think I do. And I'm trying to think, if I was in his position, would I do that? Tough to say.
Yeah, it's hard because like I get it. Like I've played singles in tournaments and like you have a point that really wins you. Like you want time to like get reset. But I just feel really weird doing things that abuse it. Like, and actually, at one point, the crowd booed him.
Oh, no
so
way.
he had like rolled the ball back to the net, like clearly after taking a bunch of other time. And I think someone said something like, "No, not this again." And then the crowd literally booed him. So like, and he clearly didn't care. So like, honestly, props to him for like not letting
caring.
that throw him off because like I would have felt like a horrible human being probably. But like. Yeah, stuff like that where like even the audience was picking up like you're pushing this a little bit.
I see.
But you know, like when you talk about like sports at the highest level, like your job depends on this, is how you're getting a paycheck. Like I get it. You're not gonna run back to the baseline and get set up real quickly and play at the pace that the other guy wants to. Like you're gonna try and find ways to draw it out so that you get an advantage. But it just feels weird in a sport that is like heavily based on sportsmanship.
Okay, this is true, but also because of that, do you think they'll implement some other rules? I mean, I've always wondered why at tournaments like we play with one ball on the court.
I do think that's a little weird.
Is that weird?
Like,
Do people complain about using different?
I think the only thing it would be maybe like nice with, I think that it's tough, right? Because like a tennis court, if you had to chase the ball down, it's huge.
Yes.
A pickleball court is small enough that you can get to the ball in like a very reasonable amount of time. Pretty much always. And like we don't have like ball boys or anything. Like you have the ref, but like they don't want to move all over to go get the ball. So like it's kind of weird that we like being from tennis where you always have like two at least.
Yes.
And now you have one. I don't know. And I think Rob Nunnery had pointed out like if it was a problem, then the ref should have done something. So it's like if the ref didn't think it was a problem, then it's like, okay, maybe it really wasn't a problem. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would have to get abused a lot more than it did at this for them to implement new rules.
So did Julian say anything to the ref or him or anything?
You couldn't tell on the stream, but there were a couple times where like you can see Julian saying something either to Ryan or a ref, and you don't really know who, but you can tell he's annoyed. He's like, I want to go. Because like he would get a momentum swing and then it gets slowed down. Yeah, it is rough. Honestly, like I think it's cool that Ryan won because like he was clearly the underdog.
Yes.
And like you always want the underdog to win.
Yeah, but not like that.
Yeah, not quite like that. And like Julian obviously is an up and comer, so like you kind of wanted him to win too. And it's like, I heard Julian like disappeared pretty quick after that. I wasn't there, but like he just like was out of there. He didn't. Yeah.
I was just curious. I would. I think part of the game is dealing with like these situations, this gamemanship, and I don't know, for some reason I just felt like Julian would have had like the experience to kind of like deal with this sort of thing, like him coming from a tennis background, because this stuff happens in tennis.
Yeah, and tennis is bad.
Yeah, no, in tennis it can be real bad. Well, I mean, I don't know if I've dealt with a lot of gamemanship in tennis. I've definitely dealt with a lot of like just straight up unsportsmanlike conduct or shit that just really annoyed me.
Yeah.
One example, I think the one thing where I stopped playing, I think USTA or like leagues and stuff, was there was one USTA match or something, and there's always sandbag. We can get that into another episode, but there's always people sandbagging in like a league or something. So there was one guy, I think he was like probably like 5'0" or something. I forgot his name, and honestly I don't really care to remember it. But the match was in Maryland. I'm in Virginia. It would have taken me like an hour to go there, but I guess like our number one singles guy like dropped, and like I don't know, it was far away, and it was like kind of like a last minute thing. And so my captain was like, hey, Will, you want to come up and play? And then I was like, yeah, I'll probably get my butt whooped, but heck yeah, I want to like go play, test out my skills or whatever. And in tennis and like USTA, like if you get a certain score, you're dominating like so much or whatever, you automatically like get DQ'd.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and
so like if they see there was clearly too much advantage, they just disqualify you.
Right, exactly.
I'd kind of like to see that in pickleball, I'm not going to lie.
Right, exactly. I mean, but who is to say these things? And pickleball is so streaky and swingy, it's totally tough to say. But what happened to me was I went there and I played him, and clearly he was sandbagging and he was like hitting stuff out or whatever, and I was like, yo, I know what you're doing. You're trying to like not basically
not flag it,
like not DQ. He might have, and I think almost because he was winning so much from the previous, I think I looked up his record or something, and that I think he was going to throw that match like away just so he can say he had a loss, you know? And then, so somewhere in the middle of it, I just like stopped and I walked off the court and I was like, you want, I was like, I'm not going to give you what you want because like in my mind, I mean, told him like in person, I was like, yo, you don't have the integrity to like play me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't deserve to be on the same court as me.
So it was that obvious that he was hitting things out?
Yeah, it was that obvious, and I was just annoyed, and I was just like, and I was annoyed that I like drove all the way there. So I was like, okay, well, this is what you want. Like, I'm not gonna give it to you. So I bounced. Like, I shook his hand, and I was like, all right, congratulations. Like, you know, I went home, and then I don't know, I just left a bad taste.
Yeah,
in my
totally.
mouth, you know, and I don't know. I just hope pickleball doesn't turn.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of already in a weird spot where people can get away with it a lot better than they should be able to get away with it. So, like, I would kind of be in favor of, like, a thing where, like, you get disqualified for that, especially if you can prove through other means after the tournament or on site that someone's been playing at a higher level and, like, been doing okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd be perfectly okay with that. But like you said, things can be hard to prove. Like, you might have a really good day, opponents are having a bad day, and, like, it can be so streaky that it's, like, you might 11-0 a couple people, but like, you know, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's tough to say, but I would be okay with them looking into an idea like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see as the sport progresses or whatnot. We'll see what the PPA, the APP, or whatever governing bodies. I mean, I think that's a great place to end our first episode of the Not Pickleball podcast. But before we leave off, we know you guys out there who are probably watching this, you're probably friends with us. Maybe you're not. Who knows? But you
Probably my mom watching. It's my mom, my mother-in-law, my wife, my brothers, so they can make fun of me later for saying something stupid.
All right, well, I have a quick tip for you guys, or an idea per se, because I just spent too much time thinking about this silly game with a silly name that is super addictive. But the tip is actually calling your shots, like calling if you're gonna do a drop or a drive. Literally, you can just tell your partner before you hit a ball if you're going to drop or drive it, because then your partner is ready, right? Because I don't know, you've probably been in this situation, right? You try and I guess drop the ball, and then like you mess up a drop, and then your partner's already like running in there, like, you know what I'm saying? And then they get destroyed, or you drove it when you thought that your partner thought that he was going to drop it, and then you know you guys are in a mixed confusion. So really, just calling out what you're going to do so your partner knows, right, will help them be prepared and ready, because most of the times you're looking back at your partner and you're trying to see what they're going to do. And if you're afraid that your opponents are going to know what you're going to do, you can actually have, I guess, a coded word. Like if I say me once, I'm going to drop it. If I say me, or I say I got it or something like that, I'm going to drive it. I think this way there's an audio cue for your partner to know what you're going to do, and then they can react accordingly if they want to do a shake and bake, or if they want to cover the center, look for a poach, or if they just get ready for like a dink or something.
And I think it's probably the shorter the phrase you can do and probably not repeating something makes it more clear, like just in case like you said me and they only heard one me or something, or like you know, me versus like, I mean, I got it's pretty good, or I'm sure you could think of other things, but like the shorter you can make it and really clear, the better. But I thought the idea was like pretty interesting, because I've had a number of times like playing with my brother where like I wish I knew exactly which shot he was going to do. And to some extent, like maybe as you move up, like some of it's something you should be saying beforehand. Because like, you know, when people return the serve, it's not super often that they give you a return that like really trips you up. Like maybe occasionally you get one that like it gets you in a bad spot, but for the most part, I feel like you can also talk about it beforehand, like, okay, whoever this comes to, like, we're gonna drop it here or whatever. But I do really like the idea of having something while you're playing, just for like an extra level of communication in case something changes, right? Like maybe you said, I'm gonna drive this ball, but for whatever reason something changed in the two shots that have already been hit that makes you go, actually a drop is better, and now your partner isn't like hung out to dry, or they're like, dude, you changed your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this helps too when you start playing with people that you don't normally play with, because I think if you play with somebody long enough, you kind of know their tendencies and you kind of like intuitively know what they're going to do and you know where you should be or the right play like to do so that you're successful. But when you play with new people, it's tough.
Oh, it's totally different. I actually think people should explore playing with people they don't play against very often, like more, because like going to a tournament, I think that's one of the things that you might feel really good against your local 4-5, but that's not the same as another 4-5, right? Like different play styles, like different techniques, strategies, like all that type of stuff. And it can really throw you through a loop when you're like, wait, I'm a 4-5, but I'm getting absolutely like dunked on by this other 4-5. Like it's, I think that's really valuable.
All right, cool. Well, hey, go try it out. Maybe we'll try it out next time.
Yeah.
You know, we're out on the course, see what happens. Maybe we should just come up with some like ridiculous call outs.
Something to throw them out, throw them off.
Yeah, I'm going to call it
Bounce it.
bounce it.
But you have to bounce the shot, and they're like, why is he yelling bounce it?
We're watching Netflix tonight. Oh, Dab, he's going to drive it. Just something so random.
Netflix and chill. Oh, man.
All right, well, that was it. That was the first episode of Not a Pickleball Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.